From America's beautiful coastal beaches to the hilltops of mountains far-reaching, or even the gorgeous look of red rock in the desert, to a nice, vibrant day in a buzzing major metropolitan city, Americans are talking, and well, they're working too. And no matter which way a state votes, we're all still Americans in this large country of 300 million people. So here today to bring you America's perspectives are Matt Curran, Javen Polson, Gabriela Escudero, and Michelle Beretta on Coast to Coast Conversations. All right, everybody, welcome in to Coast to Coast. Oh, it's starting over again.
Take two.
Sorry, when you're the producer and the host, it just makes things a little bit harder. But welcome in to Coast to Coast Conversations. I am on the road. We've still got Michelle in Wisconsin. I think Javen's okay. We haven't been able to communicate with him because it's snowing like hell in Louisiana. His power might be out from what we're possibly gathering, because I know that's a thing down there at the moment. But today, as you see, we're talking on pardons, inauguration, and the Obama breakup. So, Michelle, which one do you want to tackle first?
Well, first and foremost, don't forget I'm following the chat because, Matt, you've got a lot of stuff to do on that producer. So make sure on YouTube or on live on X, comment. What do you guys think? As well as, yes, Javen has got some snow. And from Wisconsin, it was way too cold to snow earlier this week. And I was really jealous, actually. And a few weeks ago, if you remember, I was asking Javen if he had ever seen snow in Louisiana. And he was like, no, I mean, maybe a flurry here or two, but it never touched the ground. And now they're literally having snowball fights on Bourbon Street. So I'm kind of worried though, because they don't have the equipment like, us northern folks do.
Yeah, and I know this is kind of turning into a main topic, which is fine with me. Like, they don't have, so having lived down there in North Carolina, we have salt. We have people that go out and they salt the roads. Our local governments outside of a few mountain counties, they don't invest in snow plows. It only comes a few inches a couple times a year, but we invest in salters, but not snow plows. In Louisiana, they don't have anything. They have nothing there. I think the last time they said it snowed was 1980, and I saw on the LSU, I'm an alum of LSU, so I follow them, go Tigers, but I also saw on there of 1980 when it snowed with the LSU bell tower, and then a picture of it today, and it looked very creepy. They got more snow back then in 1980 than they do now, so can't really be complaining too much.
It's beautiful. We had the huge TikTok fiasco over the weekend, and one of the very first TikToks that I saw the next day, Monday, whenever it came back online, was one of the Southern folks making a joke, doing Creole seasoning all over the sidewalks because they heard that, salt works, but here in the South, it's the Creole seasoning that really gets them going. So I had to just talk about Javen. We miss you. Hopefully you're safe, buddy. But getting into the presidential pardons, Matt, from both sides, on Biden's way out, on Trump coming in, it's insane. The Bidens the pardons that came out. I don't know which one you are most excited to talk about, but let's go.
Yeah, they even had some presidential pardons today for the 21 pro-lifers that were convicted for various aspects. I find it interesting. This just kind of another highlight of the Biden administration. It kind of ties into some of the ICE raids that the Biden administration was more focused on going after these pro-lifers than they are these illegal immigrants. And by the way, these are the worst first policy of illegal immigrants, people who are murderers and stuff, but we'll go after peaceful protesters that stand on sidewalks and stuff. So I thought the pardons were right for Trump to do those today. Even the J6 pardons, it's sort of the battle of pardons. Like, here's also something interesting. presidents don't come into office and begin pardoning. This is not
Right?
something that is typical, like traditionally, and Trump broke this brilliantly, by the way, in his first term, which was prior to Trump's first term. It was okay, you're on your way out, you pardon a bunch of people, and then you Nixon peace sign out. Um, and then Trump just started using them as like a political thing in the mid, like they're all political, right? Like in the middle of his first term, like pardoning Rod Blagojevich, former governor of Illinois, right, who's now a Trumpocrat, right? Stuff like that. So the J6 ones I thought were appropriate. Look, and I know I'll play for Javen here. I don't think it was right. Blah blah blah. I'm Javen. It's horrible. Okay. Well, here's my thing, Javen. Two wrongs don't make a right, but two wrongs makes the nation move past it. Okay, because the other wrong was Biden pardoning all those other J6 people. So everyone's pardoned. The country can move past it. It's kind of like the Gerald Ford pardoning. It stings, but everyone got what they wanted. They can move on. So in one way, it was
You
kind of
know,
good. We can
I
just move past it.
I don't know. I don't know that a blanket pardon for the J6ers is should have been the way to go. I totally understand his pardoning of the Silk Road guy. So what was that? All is it Ulrich? I'm sorry, I forget his name, but he, if you remember, he was sentenced to what, 2 life sentences for the early adoption of cryptocurrency, and the folks that were actually doing the negative things, that the illegal things, he was just the website and the hoster and the connector of that. um the other folks that actually did the drug dealing and all of that, they got less sentences. Their sentences were, weren't as long as this guy. So I was excited to see that one in particular. I don't know why a blanket pardon for Biden's family on the way out was needed. Because if you remember, like you were just talking about how in the middle of, what was it, a couple of years ago, in the middle of Biden, was it a couple of years ago, maybe a couple months ago, that Biden went on and said, I'm not pardoning any of my family. Adam Schiff went on and said it's an admission of guilt and yada, yada, yada. And then all of a sudden, these guys are okay. And why all the way back to 2014?
Yeah, I think Mike Johnson put it best, which was because Mike Johnson and then we're doing the impeachment on Biden and uncovering all this, and it just shows that they're guilty. Because here's the thing: Trump could have pardoned all his people on the way out, and it could have totally prevented all those indictments, including himself. It could have over the last 4 years of him. Um, he might be concerned that they're going at that his Justice Department will go after them, but right, what
My
was that?
picture fell. My picture
Oh, your
fell.
picture felt live coverage.
We
Okay.
are just we are just having a ball tonight.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I don't think Trump or Biden should have been concerned Trump's going to come after him. Trump to me is um sort of the opposite of a Theodore Roosevelt. He's more talk than he is action. Now he does action, he does bold action, but he talks at like a 10 on what he's going to do, and then he ramps it back down to about a 7. So you really don't know what he's going to do. But I don't think he would have gone after his political opponent.
I don't know. I wonder, because we're still looking at the origins of COVID. So, you look at
The Fauci
the
one. Okay, so that sorry,
so
yeah, the Fauci one would have been more of Rand Paul and the subpoena of him coming to Congress and being held in contempt of Congress because Rand Paul was raging over Fauci over the last 4 years. If that's what you mean by COVID, because that's the one I found interesting too with Dr. Fauci.
well, if you look, both Fauci and the family, all from back to 2014. And what happened in 2014 was when we started to build the
Data function.
yeah,
And
the
by the
whatever
way,
function.
Obama put a stop to that and said you cannot study gain of function. And Fauci even disobeyed Obama. Obama's too weak to do anything.
Right. Right. So I don't know. I see the benefit in some. I don't see the benefit in others. I mean, again, it is a tit for a tat, and I don't like playing politics like that.
What did you think about the Ford pardoning Nixon?
I'm sorry, what was that?
What did you think about Gerald Ford pardoning Richard Nixon?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know that I would have done that as well either, because at the end of the day it's transparency to the United States citizens, and I don't believe that pardoning people really promotes a transparent government. And why pardon them
Mhm.
if you've got nothing to hide and you haven't done anything wrong? Why do you need a presidential pardon?
What
And why do
what
you need
are
a presidential pardon without I mean, well, outside of Nixon, why do you need it without a crime being committed?
what are why do you think the framers put in pardons into the Constitution?
I I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, I think it's exactly for I won't say for what's being used right now, but for like the Richard Nixon Ford thing. If a president sees whether someone's either being overly charged or overly guilty, or if it's overly political, not going to be given a fair trial. Like, honestly, Biden should have just pardoned Trump over all these ridiculous charges over the last 4 years, because there's no way to charge someone fairly as big as Trump like that and put the nation through that, or just like Richard Nixon. I thought that was fair. All these J6 people, blanket, it's hard to do that, right? And give a fair trial in Washington D.C. So when things get so over politicized, it's kind of that's what I think the pardons are for.
So let me ask you this. Do you think it would have put Biden at an advantage during the election had he pardoned Trump prior to the election? Do you think that
If
would have do you think that would have put him
if
or hurt?
Trump see, because there's the other little secret, you have to accept the pardon. So then he'd be sort of taking a step forward, assuming Trump would accept the pardon. So then it would put a lot more pressure on Trump, because let's say, okay, Biden signs the pardon, and then Trump goes, "I'm not taking this pardon. I'm not guilty of it." Like, because then that would presume he's guilty and he's playing a political. So it would. I mean, Biden would have had nothing to lose at this point. Like, might as well take a chance and do it. Honestly, I was thinking back at it after the assassination attempt. That's the way Biden should have gone out when he did the first Oval Office address, and he was thinking about it. He should just say, like, "Look, my words are so bad. Things have gotten heated with the trials and everything. I'm going to pardon Trump, and I'm going to back out of the race." Boom. That's what he should have done if he was smart politically. I think I said it at the time, but he's not.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to look more into the ones that he came out with today, because that really concerned me as well too, because freedom of speech we have, and if it's I mean, there's what, 70 and 80-year-old women that were locked up for or
Hmm.
sentenced to what, 20 years
Hmm.
for protesting outside of a Planned Parenthood clinic.
But we
I don't
catch and
know. I don't
release.
know the story, so I'm sorry. But that's at high level. That's what I saw for headlines today.
Right, right. And having done some of that, you're just typically on a sidewalk. I don't know the extent of all their stories, but when you kind of weigh MS-13 gang member convicted of murder, catch and release in the sanctuary city of Boston, someone on a sidewalk might have been walking in front of a car and stopped it for like 2 seconds and kept. Which one are we going with here? Or I mean, remember Merrick Garland was when they had the Loudoun County, Ashburn, Virginia school system, and all those parents were standing up to all the craziness there, and Merrick Garland wanted to go lock some of those parents up, going after parents and pro-lifers, but we're not going to go after murderers. So the American people and electing Trump, I think this is just one of the reasons why he was elected, because I mean, this isn't a surprise. He campaigned on he was going to pardon these people, so none of this is a surprise.
Right.
And if you are,
No. Yeah.
then you can't really say anything like that. But all right, now the inauguration stuff. We'll go to like. Well, I'm gonna play a quick clip. Really, it's not like It's like 8 seconds, and this is another reason why I think Trump made an excellent VP pick, which was this is the return of the normies here. This is just JD Vance and his kid. Trump doesn't seem phased by it at all. Just get I mean, the return of the normies is
I love
ultimate.
I love it. I love it. I love the return of the family unit. And if that is not every single mom through gritted teeth when you are in public or you're in church or you are somewhere and your kid is acting crazy and through those teeth you put her upright. It's the eyes, you and then the hair check at the end. I mean, the second family I have grown over since Trump selected him just to they're just inspiring. And like you said, they're normies. You know, they cook dinner every night. They are it's just a refreshing to see.
Yes, yes, it is. In fact, I'm gonna share my screen here because we can't get the pictures, but can you see this, Michelle?
I
The
love
the
that.
so this is at JD Vance's swearing in. I noticed it with my wife here that, this girl, I don't know her name, has 3 Band-Aids on. Now, I was thinking just now, I don't think she has 3 cuts. What I really think is that she wanted all 3 Band-Aids or she wanted matching Band-Aids because that's what my kids would want. And so they're like, "Okay, yeah, sure." I just think it's funny. But again, return to the normies. I think a lot of people enjoyed seeing little kids. A lot of people can relate to little kids. When was the last time you saw little kids with an American family? Like I know Barron was like what 12, 10. Okay, so he was 10. I'm talking like toddler age. Obama, theirs were like what 7 and 10. I can't remember the last time there was
But
kids this young.
do you remember them standing out and being included as much as the second family's, children were? Because I don't. I remember them at
Mhm.
certain events and at special highlighted showcase events, but throughout the entire inauguration, I don't remember seeing them, but for in very small, not not on full in front of you like, hey, we're a family and guess what, we have to do both, we have to be both parents and the vice president, the second family.
And I will also say this: it's a part of it is the big contrast of okay, Trump's getting like okay, when he was elected in 2017, he was the oldest person elected by like 6 months over Ronald Reagan at 70. Okay, then Joe Biden, then Trump. So between Trump, Biden, Trump here, it's just been older, 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 and so then to have this contrast of what was he like mid 40s, JD Vance with a family, it's a big contrast. I think millennials can resonate with it, and it might even show where 2028's heading. That if that's a if frere, fresh pair of eyes is refreshing to most people, that says that if you're 70, 60 right now trying to run for president, it might be harder. You might actually have an advantage if you just showcase your family a little bit. It might get you a little bit extra points on the campaign trail, or just
Yeah,
having one and being active with them.
I think so long as the negatives, I still remember where it was you leave the kids out of it, but you can show them off. I remember
Yeah.
like you can talk about them, and then it just became this negative thing, so I think it switched over into, well, we don't want any negative about our family, so we're not going to show them off. And I think it's just a new golden age of rebirth of the family, and the fact that the history of JD Vance and Usha, she is the first Indian Asian
Hmm.
um you know, vice presidential family that we have, and the upbringing that JD have. I actually watched Hillbilly Elegy Sunday night, and it was really eye opening, and it connected us to him as a family because his his poor upbringing from the Appalachian Mountains and his mother that was a drug addict, and
Hmm.
still through all of that he was able to become who he was. with the backbone and his partner of Usha standing right there next to him the entire time. It's it's just it's lovely to see, and I can't wait to see more of it. And for the band-aids, as parents, we have an unlimited supply of band-aids always. Always.
No, it's
I had
true.
to put one on one of my kids right before I left.
No, it's true. And I remember being a kid watching Obama a couple days before his first election in 2008, trick or treating with his two youngest daughters. I remember Bush with his family around him getting sworn in. I remember Chelsea. Almost I remember Chelsea, but I've seen pictures of Chelsea Clinton with Hillary and Bill. So it's just I think a little bit different because these men are older, and hopefully we get back to it, and you don't have to have Hunter Biden as the standard
I'm just
anymore.
I'm just really glad that we no longer have to have the Easter bunny
Oh
directing
my gosh.
our
Yeah.
president during events.
Yeah, she be directing the grandkids of the president.
And totally because I'm that guy. If somebody else, a comedian, said, if you notice, there was no sniffing of children at all during the inauguration. So
He was on his best behavior. Well, other inaugurational things, which was the next day at the National Prayer Breakfast. This is a long clip. We're gonna play it because it's an Episcopal woman bishop, basically scolding Trump and JD Vance. And typically these are like apolitical, right? We're praying for you, Mr. President, to bring strength to our country. We're praying for you. Like it's very basic stuff, right? And every religion kind of gets a chance over there. Well, this lady comes up and says this. Play now.
I ask you to have mercy upon the people in our country who are scared now. There are gay, lesbian, and transgender children in Democratic, Republican, and independent families, some who fear for their lives. And the people who pick our crops and clean our office buildings, who labor in poultry farms and meat packing plants, who wash the dishes after we eat in restaurants and work the night shifts in hospitals, they may not be citizens or have the proper documentation, but the vast majority of immigrants are not criminals. They pay taxes and are good neighbors. They are faithful members of our churches and mosques, synagogues, wadara, and temples. I ask you to have mercy, Mr. President, on those in our communities whose children fear that their parents will be taken away, and that you help those who are fleeing war zones and persecution in their own lands to find compassion and welcome here. Our God teaches us that we are to be merciful to the stranger, for we were all once strangers in this land.
I don't know any transgender people who are picking crops, but uh, eh, you know, I wish we could have found the video because I think I saw it sort of live on Fox News. But Trump's reaction to this was just like, "Can't believe this," and super annoyed. JD Vance looked over at his wife and grabbed her hand and was like, "Yep, welcome to being vice president of the United States. You got to hear this garbage." This is this is a bunch of crap. How would they like it? And maybe we should. Maybe next time there's a Democrat president up there, we'll have somebody go up and say, "Mr. President, we hope you have mercy on all of the children who are murdered by abortion." I mean, we can play the same game too. Uh, it weaponizing God for political purposes is not really a way to heal a country. Sure, there's time to speak your voice, but politicizing something at the pulpit like that when he's there rather than just praying and blessing him, which is what that prayer breakfast breakfast is to pray for the president, not send a message to the president. And she totally weaponized it.
I was shocked a little bit when I saw it, and I actually when it first came across my social media feeds, I thought it had been an SNL skit that Kate McKinnon did, because tell me that you don't see Kate McKinnon from SNL, who is a doing this woman as a bit. And so I scrolled until it started. I started seeing more news, and then I watched it, and I just, not the time, not the place. I understand sermons take on a theme, when on a weekly basis you talk about different thoughts and ideas. Um, but like to your point, it wasn't about the it wasn't about that. It was about the president and praying for our country, and moving forward, through Christ, and moving forward, praying for everyone. And that, if you said that, pray for everyone, but when you start to
Mhm.
narrow down specific talking points, you've lost the overall meaning of what you were supposed to be doing that day, no matter your political beliefs. And if you look at her history, which I did, because I started to look her up, because I was like, well, who is this lady? She's known for this. Like, she's known for this sort of belief that she has. She's come out and passed and talked about it. Um, but I'm a little, I'm perturbed that she decided that day to choose that time.
Yeah, this is about praying for the president, and most people are asking for strength, or maybe they might pick a scripture for everyone to reflect on. But it's not time to get pointed at the pulpit. And sure, there's times where political issues and religion intersect, and all that stuff. Like, I could mention abortion too, but pro-lifers weren't even up there talking about all that, because they understood this national prayer breakfast is about praying for the president of the United States, not have mercy, Mr. President, have mercy, please. Um, yeah, it was just ridiculous. And all that immigration talk too. How does she feel now that Trump just arrested murderers all day from ICE over here on the Fox News? I'm looking. They just got some from Boston. They just had a guy from Haiti who just said blank blank you Trump. I love Biden. And he's from Haiti, and he's been accused of multiple murders back in Haiti. So, should we have mercy on that guy, or should we send him back to his country,
But
Madam
truly,
Bishop, or whatever we call you?
and if I can add to that, how low do you have to feel about our immigration folks, that are the ones that are coming across and doing it the right way? Does she, only illegals pick pick our crops, and only illegals clean our offices, and only illegals do this, that, and the other thing? You can't put it down to their job description when there are so many coming across and doing it the right way and working the right way in our fields. As Wisconsin's a dairy state, we are very, very well aware of the immigration and having work visas. But the ones that don't do it the right way, I, I'm sorry, no, no. And to the employee or the companies that are there, that are, capitalizing off of that lower wage, because they can pay them a lower wage. They don't have to
Mhm.
pay what they normally are. It's it makes me angry because, like, I mean, not to quote, Greta Thunberg, but how dare you think so little of the immigrants that are coming over, that these are the jobs that they are only able to do.
Yeah, and it's basically saying that, "Oh, hey, there's slaves still. We need to free the," without saying you need to free the slaves. because they're slaves because they're not legal. Well, that's what we're trying to fix is the whole problem.
And I loved JD's when he looked at his wife. They both kind of had their eye moment where they spoke
Mhm.
to each other. And he's such a bro. I really enjoy him because he just
Yeah.
looked at Trump like, bro, come on.
He's the future of the party, whether he's gonna be the next president or not. He'll have a role, I think, in a future administration or post vice presidency. Um, it's he's got a role because he has a good, unique way of connecting with people. Well, the next thing we can talk about is JFK executive orders. Like this is something else.
Before we
Y-
do that
Yeah.
inauguration moment, did you see the Carrie Underwood a cappella
Oh yeah.
mishap? I wish we had the video because she nailed it, and I at least wanted to get that out tonight too. Carrie, you're awesome, and she
Hmm.
just nailed it.
Yeah. I mean, that's got to be awkward. You're sitting between the new former president and the new future president. You're just like, okay, what's going on? She's like, we all know the words, and then the background is Kamala Harris kind of singing along, like not really. She's like she felt like it looked really sad with Kamala in the background singing it. Did you see that?
Yeah, it looked forced.
Yeah, it definitely looked forced. But no, that was a great moment. Look, my favorite moment overall, and it goes again to I'm not going to go on a rant about it again. But the college football playoffs were the same time Trump was sitting there doing the um, signing the executive orders, and Peter Ducey finds the note, and he's just sitting there off the cuff, signing stuff, pulling out notes. Oh well, look at this! I found a note. Could have been in there for years, Peter. We've all seen it. That to me was the most entertaining, and signing executive orders and laws live, and then throwing the pins.
He Trump did more public appearances in the first 2 days than I think Biden did the entire administration when it comes to the transparency in the media. I
And
mean,
then
having it at the arena, for example, like you had said, throwing the pens in the audience, he the people's president. He really is the people's president, and he invites
Mhm.
the people in, and that's
and then
amazing.
the Biden administration sits there and they wonder why they're leaving office with a 36 approval rating, the second lowest to in modern history to only Jimmy Carter and George W. Bush. But at least George W. Bush enjoyed 90% approval rating. It was only in the second half of his last term, it just totally tanked the financial crash. Jimmy Carter was constant. I mean, even with J6, Donald Trump left with 44. So it's like you're blaming your predecessor for J6, all the stuff, J6, you hype it all up, and then you leave with a lower approval rating than him. And he really never recovered. We'll do this next week at some point. I want to go through the approval rating timelines of everybody, and you can see it was Afghanistan. He gets down really low, and he could never recover from that. That was the moment America went, oh crap, we got 3 more years of this, and we immediately reversed it. So that was a good moment. Here is the JFK executive order, and then I'll let Michelle speak right after this.
Lastly, sir, we have an executive order ordering the declassification of files relating to the assassinations of President John F. Kennedy, Senator Robert F. Kennedy, and Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
That's a big one, huh? A lot of people are waiting for this for years, for decades. And everything will be revealed. Okay? Give that to.
I love this.
Yes, sir.
Love it. Show everybody. That was the most I've seen in the Oval. I haven't seen. I don't remember I seeing Biden behind the Oval Office desk. Like I remember seeing Obama behind there a few
Do
times,
you
but
remember?
I don't.
Do you remember late in his presidency, they put him into the bunker in the tiny desk in the corner with the
Oh
backdrop
yeah.
they did with Biden. So who's really running the country at the end of his term?
Oh, that's gonna be coming out soon, and I actually think it's a group. Jill, Nancy, Chuck, they all kind of were in, and that was what made the force out harder because then the group got divided. And, Jill didn't want to go, and the donors probably had no idea. I'm being serious. I think the donors had no idea about it. Or at
Plausible
least,
deniability.
yeah, it'll be an interesting time. And honestly, this has permanently hurt the Democrat Party, even I think through 2028. Until okay, this is my prediction too, and I know I'm getting off the JFK thing. Much like after Obama won, it took until Trump to say the Iraq. It took two cycles, 2008, 2012. It took until 2016 when Trump came out and said Iraq was a big fat mistake, and you had to take on all those people in the Republican Party. Somebody has to just say, unfortunately, and say Joe Biden was a mistake and is a bad president. And the Democrat Party somebody has to say that. Somebody has to say no, we don't need men and women's sport. Like we can still hold some of these liberal policies, which I disagree with, but the crazy stuff like that, the obvious stuff, right? Somebody just has to say it and they'll automatically get at least 10, 15 points in any primary on top of whatever else they're campaigning on.
Yes. But back to JFK and
Yeah,
the
sorry.
release of the files. I am so excited about this because I've said this before. I am the tinfoil hat wearing conspiracy theorist of our group. And I, one, don't know anything and haven't looked into Robert Kennedy or MLK. So I'm excited to start to look at that. But truly, the JFK files gets me going because I completely think that it was an inside job, and I really hope that they do at least release all of it. But I really hope that it does not show that it was an inside job because of how bombshell it could be for our country. If
Yeah,
you guys
no.
don't know, I mean, I was listening to a podcast. There's one that came out. It was Who Killed JFK. I highly recommend it. It's on iHeart. It's done by Rob Reiner, and it's like a 13-part series. I got to listen to it all the way to Iowa and back in a torrential snowstorm where they shut down the freeway, and I got stuck in a hotel for 2 days. And it was,
Well,
we got Tiger that says LBJ did it. I don't know. I don't know. I think it was more so of I think it was the CIA. And I think it was a combination of folks. I honestly think it was a combination.
so you think it was well? Who was running? Wasn't JFK's brother running the? No, he wasn't running the CIA. He was running the Justice Department.
No, I believe it was before it was a Dulles that
Yeah.
was running, and then he was ousted right before by JFK, and then was in a bunker in during that weekend of assassinations,
Hmm.
or the weekend of his assassination. But this whole they go into the history of Lee Harvey Oswald and how, when presidential assassinations happen, they are actually proud of what they did. And what did he say? He said, I'm a patsy. And his history of him in the military and being connected to, some undercut programs of mental manipulation that were going on at the exact same time. All of the pieces and all of the puzzle is pointing to that it was a coordinated effort by a small group of individuals that all were connected to the CIA.
Hmm. I've never heard that theory before. I've heard LBJ. Um, I've heard the
Cubans,
mafia. I've
the
heard
mafia,
the Trumans. I have not heard the
Cuban,
Truman.
during the Cubans. So the
Oh, the
Cuban
Cuban. I was
Missile
gonna say
Crisis.
Harry Truman's like left off. What does he care?
True.
Okay, I was like, damn.
No, 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 no. The Cubans, the mafia, the CIA, and Matt C. Kieran says blatant in.
Matt from Blanton. Who do you think did it,
uh,
Blanton? Who killed JFK? Well, actually, keep going, Michelle.
yeah, and then there was what the Russian operative, which is what they ultimately went with when when they think it was this Operation Northwoods, um, which is planting a patsy for a red flag event like this.
When will we get the last 3% of this JFK file that Trump just signed? Do
I
you
don't
know?
know. I hope soon because I am looking forward to reading it and scouring it and connecting the dots and then rereading or re-listening to that podcast.
Yes, and RFK probably likes the fact that it's being released and all that stuff too, for his family's sake, which is interesting. Well, I think that brings us to the last little segment we have, which before we get to rant and rage, which is the Obama. We don't have any. We don't have anything as far as clips for this, but it's just kind of going viral because Michelle Obama misses Jimmy Carter's funeral, scheduling conflicts. Then misses the Trump inauguration, which that one seemed more like, oh, I just don't like Trump, but like you're not gonna miss the Jimmy Carter one. Like you're Michelle Obama, you're Mrs. Unity, you're Mrs. When they go low, you go high, right? But then there's stuff about Barack Obama and Jennifer Aniston uh hooking up over here. What's that all about?
I'm not surprised. Rumor has it they have been seen very close connected in various locations, and Michelle's birthday was the other day, and people scrutinized the picture and scrutinized and forget the vanity looks of the people, the trolls on the internet complaining about her looks. The the more so of the relationship experts are if you look at the green line, you think of the green line theory, the parallel theory of people that are there, they're just running next to each other. If you're truly into each other, you kind of lean into each other, and there's a whole theory behind it. But anyway, but he's been seen with Aniston. So there's rumor all over. Now, do I think it's going to happen? No. Do I think that they're really doing it? No. No. I think perhaps it could be some sort of deal they're brokering, much like the Obamas and their Netflix. Their Netflix
That
series?
Netflix thing they had.
Their whatever they had. I think it's more so of a business relationship than anything else because I mean, I think all of my conspiracy theorists said that she may run every time there's an election. She may run for president, and she's got to keep her stuff clean.
But this missing Jimmy Carter and inauguration hurts. But okay, so Bill and Hillary, because they came out of the '90s, different era.
Hang on, Matt. I'm going to back you up. We got Blayton wants to know if we think RFK is going to help ban a lot of chemicals, harmful things found in foods. Yes, and I'm excited for it. They've already done it with the red dye 3. Oh, I'm so excited to get back to more healthy stuff. Take the chemicals out.
I like it in order to balance it out. So, because I feel like the pendulum's on one end where we just let these companies run wild. Congress has the right to ban things in commerce, and I think banning certain poisons and certain things there's an aspect of liberalism that works, just like we were talking about a couple episodes ago, where libertarianism, conservatism, liberalism, they all have their little keys that work too much. But if you go one direction, it doesn't work. Um, I want congressional review over it, where and technically you have this now where so like okay, let's just say he came in and he bans all cereal because it's all harmful. Well, Congress can override an executive action like that. I want more of that because I want Congress people to feel like that they're doing. I won't say feel like, but they should be doing their job legislating. It shouldn't just always be the executive branch doing something. The executive branch can do this. They've been allocated it, but I want legislative review over it. So this way, if constituents, if there is a big uproar in something, not corporations wanting an uproar, then we can contact that person and our representative and have them override it. So it's not just the new president comes in and appoints someone, and then next thing you know, it's back in there, and we have this flip flop thing.
Yeah, I mean, it really is, and Blayton, I totally agree. He commented again that America is in a healthy in a weird situation where we both want freedom, but we are also by far the most unhealthy developed nation. Absolutely, and I think to your point too, Matt, it is that freedom of choice and that competitive market. And I mean, do I think that they should start taking away all of the those chemicals and the stuff that are unhealthy?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. But again, it goes back to regulation, like you had said too. Yeah, I mean, it's a hard sort of double-edged sword where you don't want the too much of the regulation, but you do want the freedom of choice, but you do want people healthy, but you also don't want to be pigeonholed into having to be forced to buy that. And I'm excited. So totally off side note, Steak and Shake has came out and said that they are moving to all beef tallow and for their French fry cooking, um, as opposed to the seed oils that they. So seeing that shift um, back to more of the natural, I think is what companies need to start doing. Because if they start doing that more before it gets banned or before a regulation
Mm-hmm.
hits, then maybe there's not need for a regulation. You know, uh, Taco Bell, I think I talked about Taco Bell a couple episodes ago about how they were the initial drivers of free refills. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so back in the 80s, to catch everybody up quick, back in the 80s, they did a campaign of free refills at all Taco Bell in a partnership with Pepsi. Pepsi was dwindling on their market share and they needed to do something fast. And because it was such a hit, they kept pushing the campaign back and kept pushing the campaign back because other stores and other restaurants and other chains started to catch on because their profits it just shot through the roof. And so it became this unlimited free refills, all thanks to Taco Bell Pepsi. And I do think our companies are going to start to move back and transition into a more healthier way of cooking if we can get enough momentum by the people.
Right. I want to comment on what Blanton here is saying that America's in a weird situation. America's exceptionalism is in almost every aspect of life. Look at sports. Everyone else likes soccer. We have our own sport. We're the only country that loves football more than any other sport. Everybody else loves soccer. Maybe there's a couple Indian countries out there like cricket more, but we're exceptional. Every and sometimes it works, sometimes it works against us. So I just want to be careful where we don't just immediately put the pendulum on the other foot like we did with healthcare, and which I'm not going to get into with Obamacare, and it just works against us in a completely different way. I want to find a balanced approach to this where ban stuff, be healthy, find choice, let it. I want it to be where it can come more from the legislative branch than the executive branch. So this way, a new president comes in and doesn't just get all upended. Like, let's say RFK bans that, whatever he just banned, like that you just mentioned, the R2 red dye stuff, whatever. Okay, it should be Congress that has to unban it or something like that. So I don't want to constantly have administration changes because look, in 4 years we're getting a new president, we're getting a whole new administration. This isn't to see if someone's going to get reelected. A Democrat can come in 4 years from now, we're going to have another flip flop again. So I want it to be more consistent because that's good for stock markets, that's good for Americans diet to be consistent, and it gives more power to the legislative branch. And I don't mind if they work in tango with the executive branch, like that situation I lined out. I just don't want it to be this kingmaker of the executive branch doing everything. So that's my only thing I have, and I don't want to have to go to courts a billion times because all power is invested in Congress. Article 1. Boom. You don't have to go to court for that. All right. You have to be careful, though. Buffalo Wild Wing cooks the wings in beef tallow, but it's deodorized, which makes it completely useless. I don't really know what that means, so I'm going to let you expand on that, Michelle.
It's like margarine versus butter. Butter's the natural, margarine is that knockoff stuff that pulls all of the nutrients out of it.
Oh, okay. See, our listeners or our viewers are teaching us stuff. Thank you. I'm making good points. I always make good points. That's what I'm here for. But yeah, no, this is an interesting topic, which is this banning thing, the separation of powers. How do you do what other countries are doing while also protecting freedom? It's a great balancing act, but at this point in time, it's holding certain companies accountable. So,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and then that kind of goes, Michelle Obama, she was all about the healthier food in the public schools, but this is what she could have done for the 8 years she was there. So maybe her popularity takes another notch down, in addition to not showing up to Jimmy Carter's funeral and such.
Do you remember her doing that? Do you remember her trying to take on school lunches during her Obama, or during the Obama years? She took on school lunches, and our health, the school health, it went down, the lunches.
Well, yeah, see, we were just talking about that. What do y'all think of the Obama? So we were just talking about that. That's where that Michelle Obama thing came in with their divorce and Jennifer Aniston. We don't have any clips about this, and I think Michelle kind of gave us her view on it. For mine, I agree with Michelle, or not Michelle. I agree with no. You are Michelle. What am I? I was thinking of Michelle
Both
Obama in my head.
Michelles.
I was like, yeah, we got two Michelle. I agree with my Michelle here that it is probably some sort of business relationship, because as much as we don't want to treat our presidents like royalty, like kings and queens, we do. And I won't say royalty. Now they're kind of turning into celebrities. Like Obama was a celebrity president. Trump is a celebrity president. And so post presidency divorce, I can't think of another president who's had a post presidency divorce. We've obviously had pre presidency divorces. Like FDR had constant scandals. Kennedy had constant scandals. The closest would have been Hillary and Bill, but Hillary wanted to run 2016 business partnership for her career, and then even after that, they didn't even get divorced. Like, it just doesn't make sense. I feel like Obama and Michelle could get divorced. They could be the first post-presidency divorced, and America would, especially probably the Black community and the Democrat Party, would be sad about it. And I think it would fracture the Democrat Party if they did that, which is kind of the main reason they're not doing it. But it would not be this awe shocking thing to the American electric, because unfortunately we're not a family oriented value. Well, we still have family values, but we're not. Divorce is not shocking anymore, I guess is my point. So it would just be like, okay, another divorce.
Wouldn't it be just totally fitting because of the new golden age Republicans in their family values, or the conservative movement and their family values, versus the separation of family on the other side? But imagine, hang on, imagine this. They divorce, and Michelle Obama gets together with Gavin Newsom in
Oh,
order to run Newsom in 2028.
wow, she served 12 years as FLOTUS.
Could you imagine that? I betcha. I betcha.
I don't know. I don't know.
If that happens, I could see that happening, because I don't see Obama and Michelle or Jennifer Aniston as a couple. I really don't. I don't.
I can see them as. I just don't see. I don't know if Michelle is Gavin's type. You know, I think Gavin likes tall blondes. You
They're
know,
not. It's the celebrity relationship that's there, as you guys know, the ones that are there
no,
for the publicity of it. I mean, once they're divorced once and you're a celebrity divorce, don't the other ones just kind of fall in suit? Aren't they just then run right after another? Isn't that what
th-
Hollyweird is all about?
yes, you are right. I'm going to combine your thing with Blanton's thing because I think the left would freak out. But this is how the left doesn't freak out. They'll freak out first, and then you ready for this, Blanton and Michelle? Michelle Obama has a Netflix series on The Bachelorette, and she gets to decide who her next husband will be. And that, for some reason, that would be the number one watch thing. Oh my gosh, Michelle, pick so and so, you know, and it's going to be vying for that.
No, I think that's hilarious, and I would absolutely tune in and watch. Um, but no, I think if it's going to be at the end, it's going to be for a political move. It's going to be for political power because she doesn't want to lose that gravy train. Her houses, her houses on, that she has.
What would she get? Would she get?
Blatant, I totally agree. Could you this is how we normally have our conversations offline too. We go sometimes off into left field and see where we end up.
And we're at the Bachelorette. Barack Obama shows up there. Hey, Michelle, what's up? How you doing? It's actually me. The whole time, honey, I want you back. The nation's waiting. Yes, would
Don't they
you?
have like a dating in the dark show? I thought that was like a date. There was a thing you could do, dating in the dark where you have to date in pitch black.
Yeah, oh yeah. Like the mystery guy or whatever.
Hmm.
Yeah, except Barack's voice is kind of like recognizable at this point. It's kind of got like a unique kind of black guy's voice, you know.
Yeah, the sound of his voice is very soothing.
Yeah, it is. I I need what we need is Barack Obama to sing us an alibi for the nation.
Did you say sing us an alibi or sing us a
Rock
lullaby?
thy country on the treetops. It's just like putting America to sleep. Obama could host a game show or something, couldn't he? Maybe even Jeopardy. I think people think Obama's smart for Jeopardy. I'm gonna stick with Wheel of Fortune. He could host Wheel of Fortune. Spin that wheel, everybody.
You bought a vowel.
You bought a vowel. But John Boehner said no.
Side
That was
note, totally, I'm gonna blatant Kamala as the weakest link. Could you hear Kamala in the weakest link? And her laugh, her cackle.
I mean lullaby. Yeah, I don't know why I said alibi like he's doing a murder. Yeah, like he needs an alibi in case he's committing murder or something. You know who needs an alibi? Bill Clinton. Where was he when Jeffrey Epstein was? No, I'm just joking. That's our new thing.
He was in the study next to the Oval Office
That's right.
with somebody in
Having-
a blue dress.
Hey, at least Bill was man enough to admit it. Okay, man enough to admit it.
No, he wasn't. I
Well,
did not have
actually,
sexual relations with that woman.
no, that's true. What
But no, that's a good turning point to our rants and raves, I think. If we're all hyped up, do you have a rant or a rave this week?
I do. But I'm gonna let you go first here.
Rant and rave.
All right, Michelle, kick us. Oh, you need me to play your clip, don't you? Sleepy Evers.
Folks, the obligation to help address the challenges our kids are facing in this 80% of the time they're not in school falls squarely at the feet of elected officials, including myself, in this building.
Did you hear that?
Tell-
Did you hear that? Play that one more time, please.
Folks, the obligation to help address the challenges our kids are facing in this 80% of the time they're not in school falls squarely at the feet of elected officials, including myself, in this building.
Okay.
So,
Why is it government's job?
yes.
Explain this to us.
So last night, Governor Evers gave his 7th State of the State address, and he was calling it year 25 was the year of the student, or year of the child, not year of the student, but year of the child. And here he was talking about how when they're not in school 80% of the time, it is the government's responsibility to take care of them, and it's their duty and obligation. And I don't know about you, but call me old fashioned. I don't want the government raising my kids, period. And he went on to talk about lots of different highlights about tax cuts, and not mentioning the fact that he vetoed the middle class tax cuts. So he took this whole winning achievements and actually didn't do those achievements. It was the legislature that did, and the legislature is controlled by the conservatives. So he's taking credit where he doesn't get to. Not to mention the fact that he also wrote into the state budget a 400-year property tax increase. So he's taken credit for all of these accomplishments that are good without mentioning everything that he's done that's bad. You know, he vetoed middle class tax cuts. He increased our property taxes for 400 years, and now it's the government's responsibility to take care of our children? Absolutely not. It's my rant. Get him
All
out of
right.
here.
Well, my rant and rave is about um we actually got someone. Public schools should just talk to parents about attendance. Yeah, why is the governor doing it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean local government should be in control at this point and then let the parent make the decision from there. That seems pretty obvious to me rather than like I mean, what was Michelle Obama gonna parachute in and talk to you about your lunch?
Well, we've got the whole Act 10 thing being brought up again. You know, it's been argued in court. We were the founding state that initiated Act 10, where we made government employees and certain sectors of employees have to pay more for their healthcare costs, and some of the other things that we as the taxpayers have been footing the bill, and to the tune that it's actually saved us taxpayers like $16 billion since it was implemented. So for them to try and turn it around and then take it away, and then with all the public school funding for the property tax, it's just throwing money into something that doesn't have the proper outputs. We're not getting a better product. Sorry to put it down as like a product, a student, a child is a product, but at the end of the day, your education is a product. You want the best product, the best education for your kids, and throwing more money at something that you aren't getting a good product at doesn't make sense to me.
No, I agree 100%. 100% with that. My rant and rave is about how silly people spend their money. I'm being nice on stupid stuff. It was reported. So if you the Eagles played a playoff game this last week in the snow, and some people sold the snow, sold snow that was on the field and in the stadium to other fans who weren't there for $15 a snowball, and then ESPN played a clip of these people showing off the snow that they got from inside the stadium there. And this guy made a lot of money doing that. He just collected. And for all I know, he probably just got snow from his yard. Like, how do you know? It was like, and then people keep it in the freezer, and you wonder why we're a country in debt because we're buying snow. If you wanted it, you could have gone to Louisiana right now and gotten it for free, or just wait for it to come to you sometime in your lifetime. It's not that hard.
I
But this is
instantly went to Waterboy, like, that's some high quality H2O. And they got
absolutely.
them in like little like golden vials or green, emerald vials of eagle colors.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Did
Yeah.
you, speaking of eagles, did you hear the mayor of what was Go Sports Balls. Where do the Eagles play?
Philadelphia,
Don't don't
Pennsylvania.
shoot me, audience. Sorry, audience. I'm not a big sports ball. For those that don't know me, I'm not a big sports balls, unless it's the Packers. Um, but the mayor of Pittsburgh, or Philadelphia, sorry, uh, tried to spell Eagles and couldn't spell
Oh yeah,
Eagles. She tried to get the chant going and she couldn't spell Eagles. I'm not a big sports balls fan, but I am a bird nerd and I can spell Eagles.
no. Yeah, you could spell you could spell Packers too. You know how to spell. I mean, this is what took down Dan Quayle when he ran for president. He couldn't spell potato. So it happens to smart lawyers. It can happen to your vice president too. Do you have time to field one more question, Michelle?
I think so.
Okay.
What's that?
Blank wants to know, why did Elon Musk do a
Seriously.
Nazi salute? Just straight up. I mean,
Uh,
he did. I watched the clip. I think. See, I low key. I think Elon Musk must have not Asperger's, or he must have something, because
he's
he's just
autistic. He's come out and
yeah,
said he's autistic.
yeah, he's socially awkward. Like, I'm gonna throw my heart out to you, Dark Mega. It just starts putting his. I'm like, can we think through the thought process of like what it looks like? And no, it's okay. You can ask. You can ask whatever you want. Um, that's just my opinion. I don't think he was out there telling everyone to salute like a Nazi.
Well, I have to, I mean, I've got to be careful around here because, they're firing meteorologists for saying the wrong thing in Milwaukee. We made national headlines because our one of our newscasters, meteorologists, came out and was very much so, took a position on how they felt about what they viewed. And is no more. So she got fired.
What
So
what was her viewpoint?
that it was a Nazi salute, that it was all of that, it
Oh, on
was the
that.
Nazis, it was all she went hard.
Wow, the
Which
weatherman probably would have been better off selling snow.
I mean, right? But I don't, and I'm not gonna give my opinion one way or the other how I feel um, about the perception, other than the fact that people perceive things differently. And depending on how you look at it, you can see something based on your biases. And so I'm gonna not make that judgment. I'm not gonna make that opinion. But what I am going to say is I have family members. I've got, I have a stepbrother, and I've got some cousins who are autistic, who do have Asperger's, and some of their ticks and some of their tisms are not of the normal social cues. So when I see things like that, I empathize and I feel for him being in the moment hyper stimulated in that crowd size. When you get emotional and you get passionate, you know, example, my stepbrother just got fixated on trains, and we went to the zoo, and Milwaukee has a really fun little train that you can ride around, and he melted down as a young kid. He's far grown and is in almost 40 now, so we can talk and laugh about it now. But I mean, we rode that train over and over and over all day long, and when it was time to go, the scene and the chaos of an overstimulated artistic boy, being pulled from something was not was not pleasant. But you have to empathize with people like that, and I think we just have to be careful of what you're perceiving in the moment.
Yeah, no, I agree. with both of you guys. Like, yeah, just be more mindful of what you're doing. The Hitler thing on Trump's worn off, so it makes it was already kind of going to Elon, so I guess he just kind of wanted to play into it. I don't know. I don't know. So
Well, and truly, at the end of the
once
day, too,
Elon's done being Hitler, they'll move on to someone else. Like Marco will be Hitler at least twice by the end of the year because
right,
everyone's
right.
Hitler.
And it's the
Everyone's Hitler.
new,
I'm
and it's
Hitler.
the
You're Hitler.
new
Everyone's
fine,
Hitler.
it's the new fine people
Stupid.
on both sides comment, right? They're looking for something like that, the gotcha moment. But it takes me back to I am a huge royal family fanatic. Like I literally got up to make sure I saw Kate and Prince William get married. I like got up, did the whole plates. I have table books. I was obsessed with Princess Kate. What can I say? But there's a very viral image of Prince Harry going like this as he's getting out of a car. And from one side, it looks like he is flipping you off. But if you look from a different angle, he was literally just extending his arm out. So when I talk about perception and depth of where you are, that's really what I have to kind of stress to people before they jump to one side or the other.
That's right, and I think that's a good way to stop our comments and question thing. We should add that as a segment maybe before rant and raves in the future. Is there any comments, questions that we can talk about for fun in the chat? I think that was a
Yeah, yeah.
cool, interesting thing. But I think that's a good way to end out. Let me find our little outro thing, and we will.
Thanks, Clayton. Thanks, Cedric. You guys were great.
And
We look forward
Tiger,
to seeing you next week.
Tiger, you're quiet. We ought to get you to talk more next week. But yeah, you guys have a good evening, and we will see y'all next week.